Yo, 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 we live on location, live from Orlando, Florida. Me and the blackest one, man, we got a neighbor. He lives here right locally with us, so we ain't had to do much to make this happen. We got the Duke legend, the Hall of Fame with an NBA
Franchise
top 75.
owner.
Oh, and he a former player who owning a franchise. That's, hey, we ain't had one of them up in here yet. So, give it up for the big time, Grant Hill, G Hill, man. We appreciate you pulling up on us, OG.
Yes. Man, first of all, man, we appreciate you, coming on the show.
I appreciate being here. And I tell you, when I first played against you, you didn't hold back. You went right at me.
Your idols become your rivals, man. When you first got to the league, who was the first person to bust your ass?
So look, I'm a fan of y'all's show. So congrats on what you guys have been doing. I think it's awesome. I know that's the question you always lead with. And I've been one of those guys that people have mentioned. But I couldn't really remember. Like, I honestly, I literally, because I came in the league and like my first, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 games, whatever, I was 20, I was doing work. So I had to actually go back and look. I had to go back and look. And you'd appreciate this. My second game, dude from Chicago, Kenny Norman.
Ooh, the snake.
And now I had like 24 against him. And I think we won the game, but he had 30 on me. And he didn't, I don't think I respected his shooting.
Mm-hmm.
He might have hit a gang of threes on me, but that was when I think I realized, because Kenny Norman wasn't like a star in the league.
Biggest name, yeah.
But it just showed you that anybody on any given night was capable of giving it to you. So I got to give a shout out to Snake, Kenny Norman.
I want to ask you, have you ever heard of the Grant Hill drill?
You know what's crazy? Yes.
Okay.
I heard it, but I was playing.
Okay.
And so I'm in Phoenix at the end of my career, and Igor.
Koskov.
Yeah, Igor. Yeah.
He was our assistant when we was in LA, first with
the Clippers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's with us. He's an assistant with Alvin in Phoenix. And Goran Dragic, he's putting him through drills.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, okay, now do the Grant Hill move. And I'm like, Grant Hill move. And so it's like, I guess it was like a through the legs and then kind of like you either cross over or go.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's the version I know. But I don't know if that's what you heard.
When I was in high school, my sophomore year, I went to NBA camp.
Okay.
And one of the coaches was demonstrating, and he was telling us, this is the Grant Hill drill. And the Grant Hill drill was you got to take 1 or 2 dribbles from half court and dunk the ball. So a lot of kids up there couldn't dunk the ball in 1 or 2 dribbles, but he used me as an example, and I can do it. So I added it to my regiment of when I fast break and all that, I always count my dribbles and not take unnecessary dribbles, because the reason of the drill was not to take unnecessary dribbles. Then I used to watch you. When you used to play in transition, you never took unnecessary dribbles when you was going. It never was I dribbled 2 more times to get there. It was always 3 dribbles, 2 dribbles, and he was at the rim dunking. So I always used that. And I wondered, did you ever hear that drill? And coaches now say that's the Grant Hill drill of not taking that many dribbles past half court.
No, I see. I had.
Have you ever noticed you did that?
No, I know I did. I mean, I think. So look, when I came in the league, and early on, going against Snake, going against Cedric Sabalos, my first guys at my position, you didn't have a lot of guys that were accustomed to guarding somebody at the 3 who could handle the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly now you look around, everybody stuff
did.
I've done, stuff you've done, all players who've tall, versatile, can do a number of things. So that kind of I think the fact that I could handle the basketball, and I was athletic and, all the other things. So for me, getting a defensive rebound and bringing it up
and
pushing it. And I always felt like if I bust out and I beat the 4s and the 5s, now I'm playing 3-on-3. And now I got space. And so it's always that deep. I go back to when I was 8, 9 years old. And, back then you're big and they put you inside and nobody can get you the ball. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember one time my dad was like, man, get the rebound, bring it up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do that. I'm a center. And he's like, nah, you can do it. And so I joked that I did it all the way to the Hall of Fame. But to me, that was a way, if I get a defensive rebound, it's a scoring opportunity.
Yeah.
In transition, tall, don't look at 230. I'm coming downhill at you. that was my game. And I don't think a lot of people really fully understood. And people see at the end where it was a different role, but early on, that's what I did well, was handle the basketball and get to spots on the floor I wanted to get to.
Your father was a former NFL player. How did basketball come into play when starting off the history is, it's football?
Good question. So, for me, I grew up, it was all football. I was told that was one of the first words that I ever said, which is kind of a difficult word for a baby. But, as a kid, pictures at the house, everything, helmet, shoulder pads. I remember going to Redskin Park, going to, Cleveland, where he played at the end of his career.
Yeah.
And for my dad, he didn't play football until he was in high school. So his first love was baseball.
Okay.
And so he always felt like you had to be older, a little bit more physically mature to play. And he didn't want some little league coach, thinking they were, Vince Lombardi.
He played in the era where it was going down.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it
was different.
And
so because of that, he didn't want, he wanted me to be a little bit more developed. And so by the time I got to high school, I was in love with basketball. I mean, that was my sport. That was, I couldn't get enough of it. And it kind of maybe 9, 10 years old, that's when it started to flip for me.
Yeah. Who did you see? Was it somebody local or you seen somebody on TV?
That's a good question. Good question. So, first of all, as you guys know, it wasn't like it is now where you just get everything you want. Every college game, every NBA game.
On your phone.
It's on your phone, on your mobile device, smart TV, whatever. Like back then, there was one game that came on, NBA game that came on the weekend. And then, I was in DC, so the Bullets, that was but they weren't really great in the 80s. But for me, it was a couple of things. It was Georgetown, watching Georgetown, Pat Ewing, that team. And then one of the guys that played at Georgetown went to my high school, Michael Jackson. Michael was the point guard on that team. So I remember watching Michael in high school, and I'm a little kid. I'm 9, 10 years old, and it was around that time where watching him, watching those high school teams, and then Georgetown called. We bought a Betamax in 1982, and the first thing we recorded was the Final Four, North Carolina, Georgetown, when Carolina and Jordan hit that game-winning shot. And it was almost like that moment. It was like, man, that's what I want to do. And then my parents got season tickets for Georgetown games, and so we became big Georgetown fans.
Time out. How the hell did you go to Duke? And I'm hearing all this G-Town love. They got Big John. How did you go to Duke? What in the world? Like what? I know every Georgetown fan sitting there listening. Like, where did we go wrong?
You know what's funny is that even my senior year, beginning of my senior year, the whole senior year, I committed to Duke early, senior year of high school. We still went to Georgetown games, and so I think a couple things. One, and my mom just passed, and so God bless, her and R.I.P. and all that. But I needed some distance. I'm an only child. I'm an only child of 2 only children, and I felt like, man, my mom and my dad would be, in my dorm every day, and so I needed, distance. And so, obviously, Duke, Coach K was a Chicago guy. He was up and coming, and because I watched that first game of Georgetown, Carolina, I became a Carolina Georgetown fan. So those were the 2 teams I followed. But kind of Coach K kind of came in there and just I believed him. Like one of the things that makes him great, and we can get into it later, but his ability to connect with people and his ability to get you to buy in. And so much of coaching is buying in. And so, but I couldn't, I felt like, man, my parents, my boy, everybody just, it would be, I needed some space. And I needed a chance to grow up a little bit too.
Yeah. When you were in high school, when was the year that you felt that you was turning the corner of, no, I'm not just the best player at my school. I'm one of the best players in the state, and I'm one of the best players in the country?
So it kind of happened before high school.
Okay.
So I So I'm young for my grade. So I graduated high school in 90, but I could have been 91. And so 13 and under, AAU championship. We were in St. Louis. And that's right. We were at Washington University.
WashU.
Yeah, WashU. We were there. And Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, they were there with what do they call it? Super Friends.
Super Friends.
Allen Henderson with Municipal Gardens. Like they had a lot of, so they all were rising 8th graders. I was a rising 9th grader. So we ended up winning the whole thing. And I remember afterwards, the guy on my team, Jamie Warren, got the MVP. And his dad was the coach. And he hit the game-winning layup. So he, but I was kind of like hurt. Like I was like, I should have been the MVP. And so that was, and I remember my dad was trying to like, like we won, but he also sees that I'm a little, feeling a certain way. And so I said, I'm gonna come back next year. I'm gonna be the MVP. And so I think having that confidence going against the best in my age, and now I went to high school playing varsity. Now the difference was all those guys were playing 8th grade ball, that following year. I'm playing high school, playing varsity. So I came back the next year, 14 and under.
Yeah.
And we were in Seattle, I dominated and got the MVP, and we lost. We lost in the finals. And so, but that was like that period where I knew, okay, like with my peers, like this is real. You start getting recruited, all of that. But going into high school, having that momentum, it's different now because you got AAU, kids play a lot younger. But back then it was one tournament. You had people from different regions. You met at the nationals, and we won.
How did that feel for you to be, like you say, your pop's an NFL player, like for you to be kind of like forging your own way and like starting to be noticed, like, you start to say you getting recruited and things like that. How did that feel for you as somebody who growing up with a professional athlete dad?
I think there's pressure. I think, your children might have felt it. It might have been more pressure for me if I played the same sport.
Right.
But, my dad, obviously his career, my mom was, an accomplished businesswoman. And so, you go through those weird middle school years, we trying to figure things out. And look, I didn't have great confidence. I stuttered. Like and I think for me, I'm trying to find my way a little bit at that time. And so basketball was my thing.
And it was a thing. Confidence.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I realize it as a parent now too. No matter how much money, no matter how many connections, no matter how many resources we have, you can't teach hunger. And you can't make it for your children, particularly in sports. It's the ultimate meritocracy. We go man on man, like either you're gonna win or I'm gonna win. You know what I'm saying? And other industries, other walks of life, sometimes connections can open doors. But in sports, it's the ultimate, like, if you're better,
you better.
You better. Like that's it. If the team's better, then that's it. You shake your hand and you move on. And so for me to like prove myself that I'm doing this independent of them, I think that was important at that period of time in my life.
How was it? We come up with that era. We some old men. We come up with that era.
Y'all babies, man. I remember y'all came in the league, man. Yeah.
But how was that to see your name in like the Streets and Smith and like see your name in all them high rankings and seeing them other names that you see up there, and you coming from Reston, Virginia, like to see your name up there with the rest of them, like how was that for you?
So you said Street Smith, so you are old. These kids today, they don't know what that is, man. So like I was as a fan. You're starving for anything basketball, anything in the magazine, anything in the newspaper.
Black and white.
USA Today. You got a USA Today. Remember the All-American team? And they had the photo spread in there? And then they'd have those preseason publications. Yeah. And you'd read about I'd read the stories of like, okay, this guy. I remember reading about Damon Bailey, who was in my class. And it was like he was like an urban legend.
Like a legend. Like they be from the other side of the country. I've never seen him.
Shay Cotton.
Kenny Anderson. I remember like reading about Kenny before I played against him. And so, and then for me, there was Michael Jackson who was older, but then Dennis Scott. So Dennis was in my hometown. And so Dennis was from Reston. Well, he grew up in Maryland, but moved over to Reston. And so Dennis was high school player of the year with Marcus Liberty. They were the top two guys. And so
Shot-town, Marcus Liberty.
And Marcus Liberty was cold.
Yeah.
He was cold. And but like, so watching Dennis go through it, and then just like being such a fan, and then all of a sudden, like, man, I'm here. You know, I'm in it. I'm parade All-American, and 5-star Nike camp, like going that whole path. It was I wasn't even thinking about the NBA, man. Like, I mean, it just seemed so far-fetched at that time. It was like, man, I just want to make the McDonald's.
Yeah.
I can get in the McDonald's game and get that jacket.
I got something going.
How was it for you when you found out? Like, because I know, like our generation, that was like, now it's so many different things that could still be, then raise their level. But back then, the McDonald's was the top tier, creme de la creme. If you McDonald's, you been stamped. You the stamp of approval. So how did that feel when you got that? Because I know, like me, you watched the years before when they announced the teams on TV, and you get to see it. Like, how was that for you when you was in your moment getting your shot?
It was great. The crazy thing is I played in the West, because there were so many players in the East.
Yeah.
And so and I was point guard. Like, I played point my senior year in high school. And actually,
you were 6'7".
I was 6'7", 6'8", and
from center to point.
So I could handle the ball. Dean Smith actually recruited me as a point guard, and he thought I could be a point guard. But no, it was crazy. It was in Indianapolis at the old Market Square Arena. Obviously, as you come up, you know these guys. You played against these guys. I mean, some guys I didn't know, but it was like, at that point in my life, it was the most incredible week of my life.
Outside of Georgetown, was there anybody else that almost got you?
So my 5 schools: Duke, Georgetown, Carolina, Virginia, and Michigan. Those were, and I was a big Sean Higgins fan.
Okay.
And another tall guy that could play on the perimeter. Matter of fact, when they won in '89, I went up there for an unofficial visit the next weekend, and I met Ramil Robinson. I met Mark Hughes. There was a guy, Demetrius Caleb, who was on that team. So I was a big Michigan fan.
Oh my God.
I probably wouldn't have played because the Fab Five would have come in the next year and benched me. But no, I was a Michigan fan. But it was Duke, Carolina. It came down to Duke, Carolina. And and I think part of it too back then, it was like that was what you saw.
Yeah.
In Virginia, DC area, you saw Big East and you saw ACC.
Yeah.
We didn't see a whole lot of Big Ten basketball in that area.
No, it was all on ESPN. They were showing all that Big East, Providence, everybody was over there.
Did you do like a press conference, or did you just announce?
Nah, I just announced it. Yeah, we didn't. There was no press conference.
So you just broke the whole UNC heart over there, that whole split.
So let me tell you what happened. So I went to Duke. My first visit was Duke. And at that point, I'm still thinking Carolina. Because you got to understand, like, growing up, everything was North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina.
And I had all the Carolina
baby blue,
swag and everything, Carolina, colored shoes. So I go to Duke. We even go over to Chapel Hill on one of the nights to a party on my visit to Duke. And because the schools are just 7 miles apart, so they're so close. And there was a young lady who went to high school with me who was a little bit older. She's passed away, but I reached out to her when I was down there. She's like, "You're not going to Duke, are you?" I was like, "Nah, I'm just here on a visit." And she's like, "All right, you got to come to Carolina." So that's where my head was at. But there was something about the visit. There was something about Coach K. There was something about the team. Like, I just bought in. And so when I came back, I was like, I told my parents, I was like, I'm ready to go to Duke. And they're like, visit the other schools. Dean Smith's coming in on Tuesday, So Dean Smith came to the house with Phil Ford, and it was a great visit. Sitting in the kitchen, he and my dad going back and forth, talking. My dad's like, idolizing Dean Smith.
Yeah.
And the next day, I was like, this is where I want to go. Now, my dad, so the following weekend, we were supposed to go to Michigan. And Bo Schembechler, who was then the AD, former coach, he was going to sit with my dad watching the football game, Michigan, Notre Dame. And it was the great game where Rocket Ismail had like 2 or 3 touchdowns. And so he didn't speak to me for like a week because he was like, man. said, man, you got it, man. Come on, man, go to these visits. But I just knew like this is where I wanted to be. And so anyway, but it was Duke Carolina. But Coach K, he got me.
He got you.
He got me.
You got there, and Coach K come from a military background. He loved hard. He worked hard. You the start of this Duke era, and you have this squad, and nobody picked y'all to win. Nobody picked y'all to really go deep,
right?
Because you had all these teams like UNLV. How was that to start the era of Duke with that team that first year?
So the year before I arrived, my high school senior year, Duke loses to UNLV in the finals, 1990 championship game. Embarrassed, blowout. And they return everybody from that team. Stacey Altman, Larry Johnson, Greg Anthony, Anderson Hunt, the whole team. Preseason number 1. First day, we meet as a team at Duke. Coach K puts on the board 1991 NCAA national champions. And I'm sitting there like, man, is he crazy? Like, I'm looking around the room.
I watched the game last year.
I'm sitting there looking around the room. I'm like, because we lose 3 starters who were seniors: Robert Brickey, Ala Abdenabi, Phil Henderson. You got Laettner is going to be a junior. He's a good player. He's going to take a step forward. Hurley had an up and down freshman year, and you got a bunch of role players and 5 freshmen. I'm thinking like, I can help this team, but I don't know if we can beat that team.
Yeah.
But his leadership in establishing that goal from day one, like every year I was there, it was only about winning championships. And planting that seed, and everything we did that first year was preparing us for that moment. And so if we had 2 games in 3 days, if we played Carolina on a Tuesday night and then North Carolina State on a Thursday, he would break it down like, this is what we're going to see in a tournament. Play on a Saturday, then you got to bounce back emotionally and recover and recharge and play Monday. So everything was geared towards winning. And then just as the season kind of went along, we went through a bunch of stuff that year, but we just kind of
gradually
peaked at the right time, and then as fate would have it, we ended up playing UNLV again.
How was it like going into that game? Like y'all done got through this season, y'all done made it to the promised land right before the game. Y'all finna play them again, and you know what's going on there. But what was Coach K like? What made him motivate y'all to be so confident out there that y'all can slay the giant?
Well, first of all, we had a whole week to prepare. So unlike the year before where you had 1 day, we had a whole week. We actually practiced 5 against 7. And to get used to the speed and the quickness and the athleticism of UNLV, they had the amoeba defense. And then I think one of the things, and I'm patting my own back here, but I think I was on the team, and so now I'm another ball handler. I played power forward. I was, Larry Johnson's guarding me. He's not used to guarding somebody 6'7", 6'8", who could be a pressure release, who can bring the ball up. So now you didn't have Greg Anthony and Anderson Hunt hounding Bobby Hurley. You had another guy who could bring the ball up. So that helped us get into our stuff. And but he just pumped us up. He pumped us up, made us believe. We went in thinking we could win. We probably the only people who thought we could win.
Yes.
2 funny stories. One, so before we leave, I got to get my hair right. We go to the barbershop. And of course, back then I had the flat top.
Yeah.
So we go to the barber. This is crazy. We go to the barber, and our barber used to drink. He used to drink a lot while he was cutting hair, but he didn't think anything of it. So he cuts Tony Lang, who was my roommate. He cuts his hair, and Tony had like a bald fade back then. And then I get in the chair, and so the mirror is behind me. He doesn't have a mirror on this side.
Yeah.
And so my back is to the mirror while he's cutting me, and Lang's sitting in front of me. So Lang's trying to like kind of give me that look.
Look at him
like dude's messing you up. so anyway, I guess the alcohol, I don't know what happened, but when it's done, I'm mad now. Like I'm like, dude, I'm about to go on national TV with this hair. and I didn't want to pay for it. And I got mad. Like I got mad. Lang's laughing. So anyway, we don't speak on the drive. he and I got in a fight when we got to the dorms because I was like, I blamed him for not letting me know.
No, when the first time he messed up.
And then the crazy thing was, this is Coach K. He said before the game, he said, look, I don't want y'all doing anything crazy, like, going bald or like, do something different than you normally would do.
Yeah.
Because I think, now I would just cut it down and bald it, but back then, this was like 1991, it was a different time. Yeah. So I go out in one of the most historic Final Fours and have some iconic moments with the worst, like I have bowl cut, flat top, like the bowl wasn't even. Like it was just.
So when you see it.
So when I see that, I'm like, I'm like embarrassed. Like I can't even watch those games because I just think of that story.
Now everybody gonna be looking at it.
Oh, the hair was terrible, man.
Talk about the pass, the perfect pass you made. Like
to Laettner.
Yeah, you think you can make that throw again? That was like on the money.
Yeah. One of the things we did every day was we do 2-man drills. You guys know, 2-man. Mm-hmm. You got out, you throw the ball off the backboard, you outlet it, go do a layup. Yeah. The next time it's a jump shot. So you'd have a partner, and it would progress to a baseball pass. Mm-hmm. And we did it every day. And so I would talk trash, like, it's in the genes because I play football.
Yeah.
So I could throw the ball and person run down the court, catch it in stride, lay it in.
Yeah.
And so I think Coach knew in that moment that I was the one that could make that pass. We had a game. We lost 2 games that year in '92, and one of them was the Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And we had a play where similar play, but they put 6'10" Trelawney Owens on me, and I threw the ball and it curved and it led Laettner to the sideline where he stepped on it out of bounds. So I remember after that game, I'm like, if I'm ever in that situation again, I'm just gonna step back. They can be. The fence can be standing, whatever, but if you step back, it just gives you
more
room. And so when I came out of the huddle and they didn't have anybody on me, I'm like, oh, I got it. I'm gonna do my part. Like I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And thankfully, Christian was, Christian gets, obviously there's been a documentary on him and, we look at his pro career and it didn't quite pan out with the expectations, but he was as good of a college basketball player that I've ever seen.
Yes.
And I'm talking starting in 1982. I didn't see before that, the UCLA and, Lou Alcindor and Kareem, all of that. But from the modern era, in terms of accomplishments, in terms of like just stepping up to the challenge against Shaq.
Every big game.
Shaq's even said it before that Christian busted it. Shaq, Larry Johnson, Lonzo, Christian was competitive. Christian brought it, and he had some, good players around him too. That helped, but he got it done, and we rode him those years. And in that game, he didn't miss a shot. He was perfect from the field, from the free throw line, 30 points, and of course hit that big shot at the end.
Tell me this. Everybody, knows and it's talked about. It's one of the biggest rivalries in sports. What was it like your first time as a freshman? Where was the game? Was it at Duke or at UNC when you first got a chance to be a part of this rivalry? What was that like?
Let me tell you, before the games. So we get down there. My guy.
And I know that they were your final UNC? 2 schools, so it was probably something extra waiting for you.
Oh, no question. So I'm trying to think of like a rivalry. I don't know in Illinois if it would be Illinois and
no, ain't no rivalry like Duke.
Ain't nothing like Duke.
But just the proximity. So my thing is having
close that.
We in Florida, you got Florida State.
Right.
Yeah. So we live here in Florida. We understand what that rivalry is. But the schools are 6-7 miles from each other. It's intense. To the point where you're in the cafeteria and Duke is the largest employer in Durham. So you got somebody in the cafeteria, somebody at the bookstore, people who work there who are Carolina fans, who are talking trash to you on your own campus. You know what I'm saying? So I call it living with the enemy. And it probably goes both. And back then we were up and coming. We're more established now. We've had success, but it was all Carolina back then. But I realized it. So my guy, one of my closest friends when I was in high school was Brian Reese. Brian Reese played at Carolina. From New York, played at Tollentine with Adrian Autry from the Bronx. He had come down in high school to visit. I had gone up to New York. Like, so we had a good friendship. So freshman orientation, we go over to a party over at Carolina, and it's their freshman orientation. And so we're both at the party, and we didn't speak. And literally, we'd see each other out and about, and for 4 years didn't speak.
Yeah, that's me.
And so that's what I'm saying. That's all of a sudden you kind of helicopter into this unique sort of like it's hard to describe it, and it was to the point too when you went over there, you never went over there like alone.
You had to make sure somebody watched.
No, I'm just saying because something might happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was always like that energy was there.
Yeah.
I mean, these are two PWIs. They're not. But I'm just saying, like, you just always felt like something could pop off.
Enemy territory without nobody with you.
And but they would come over, the guys on their team, they would try to date the girls at Duke, and we would try to date the girls over there. And so we socialized, we'd be at parties, but we never like connected. It was always we'd be in the same room, but we kept our distance.
How was the atmosphere like walking in the gym and seeing like seeing how hype y'all fans was when you having the home games and just seeing how crazy they fans was when you having the away games?
So
how the town just changed when it's y'all time to play.
I thought that's what college basketball was. And what I mean by that is the Cameron Crazies were crazy. They were creative, they were loud, it was a great environment for us to play in. It was a great environment, I think, for opposing teams. Y'all are competitors. If you went in there, so you come in there, you're gonna want to put up numbers. Like
I did.
Exactly. I'm sure you did. So it and then when we went on the road, we felt that. You know what I'm saying? And so I just kind of thought like this was normal sort of college basketball energy. And really the reality it wasn't. And also too, I think what was happening, Duke was becoming a really good team. We had good success. There was the private school element. We had some good white players. Mm-hmm. So like it was an interesting time. And then we beat UNLV, which was, an all-black team. Yeah. We beat Michigan, the Fab Five. Yeah. So there's sort of these cultural wars that were going on.
How did that feel for you to be one of the, because like you said, if you were talking about that time period, Duke was viewed as the private school with the white guys, and you were one of the few black dudes, and you were one of the better players. So how did that feel for you to be like, basically you on the quote unquote other side or whatever from our culture, basically?
Well, and I felt that. I mean, I experienced that as a fan. One with Georgetown, the pride that even though Georgetown is like Duke in a lot of ways, or like DePaul, it's probably more like. It's like both, both schools, small private school, a predominantly white institution. But to see, an all-black team with a strong black coach, I identified with that. And that was what I was drawn to. As a fan of the NBA, the Lakers. Like, I hated the Celtics. I hated the Celtics because Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, and they were good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they were white. You know what I'm saying? And so I understand the sentiment. Yeah. I do think, though, when I was in it, I didn't realize what was happening. Yeah. I didn't realize that this was going on. And what I mean by that is, we were insulated. Like, I didn't read the newspaper. Like, I might get the campus newspaper. I'm not paying money to buy newspapers. Yeah. And not that the newspaper would show that, but I think they kind of painted this picture of like good versus bad. Yeah. White versus black.
Yeah.
And I just think we were kind of oblivious to it. To my point, everywhere we went, we were hated. And every time somebody came to see us, they were hated. And so I think there was a part of it. I mean, this may sound like I'm pleading ignorance, and then when I would go out, like Durham, there's a real sort of rich African-American history in Durham. Durham was that city where in North Carolina, if you wanted a job opportunity, you came to Durham. In D.C., Coach K built, I like to say the foundation of Duke basketball was from D.C., Johnny Dawkins, Tommy Amaker, Billy King, Brian, myself, these guys, Danny Ferry. So at home, everybody showed Duke love, at least they showed me Duke love, you know what I'm saying? And then in Durham, so I didn't feel that, but I get it. I understand it. So I was oblivious to all of it in a lot of ways. We were just trying to win. We were kids. We were having fun, and But I understand looking back at it now where that came from.
One other thing before we move on from Duke, I want because I asked JJ this when we had JJ on there. When you were going into Duke as a freshman, or when you decided you're gonna get there, did you ever foresee? And I don't know if you see yourself this way, but I think the rest of the world do. Did you now looking at how much success Duke has had, all the players? Did you ever think you would be one of the people, if there was a Mount Rushmore, you would be in there, of all of these unbelievably great players, accomplishments, and all? Obviously, Coach K is above everything, but amongst the players, I felt like JJ, one of them guys, Laettner,
no question.
you, how does that feel to be one of those guys? Just really, I mean, you were one of the pioneers of it too, the start of it, but to be sit atop of something like that. You ever thought about that?
It's a great question. You went to DePaul for 2 years? Okay. And you went right out of high school.
No college.
I admire what you did. And the reason, and I'll explain why. When I arrived at Duke, I didn't see what everybody else saw. I knew I was a good player, but I did lack some confidence and belief. And I think basketball helped build that over time. So I didn't come in thinking I was going to do work. I needed to be pushed a little bit. I needed to be pushed into greatness, if that makes sense. And so Coach pushed me, and I said this, and it may come across the wrong way. I said it at the Hall of Fame enshrinement. He was one of my presenters, but and this sound, it may come across the wrong way, but he gave me permission to be it's okay to be great. And I think I wanted to fit in. And so sometimes to be great, you got to stand out.
Right.
And I struggled with that a little bit. So to answer your question, I far exceeded my expectations. I never, jersey retirement, I wasn't even, forget about the NBA. I wasn't even thinking about the NBA. That's why I say I marvel at you, hey, I can do this and I'm going to do it. I needed to grow into that. And by the time I left college, my senior year, where now it's on me, I couldn't hide behind Bobby, couldn't hide behind Christian. Now I'm the leader. I'm one that's responsible for getting all of us, to the mountaintop or whatever. And we lost that year to Arkansas, and Scotty Thurman hit a great shot against us. But that year and that experience and the cumulative 4 years prepared me for the expectation and the pressure that comes with being a top pick in the NBA.
Yeah. How was it at the draft? Your mother, your father, successful Black people, and all they want from you is to have a goal, a dream, or something that you want to do. And your father was a professional athlete, and now they get to see their son at the draft becoming a man, taking another step up in life, and finna play with the men now. Right. How was that for them to see your father and your mother just excited for you and what you accomplished?
I never really have asked them that. I mean, I think I get a sense just sort of having gone through it with them. It was an incredible ride. I think they enjoyed every minute of it, and in the high school and even in the college. And I think, it was a little bit of bittersweet at that moment, because I think they realized that, yes, now I'm going into this. I'm a man. I'm no longer on the payroll.
Definitely can take care of yourself now.
You know what I'm saying? But all of the good that comes with that. But then also, it changes when you get to the league.
Yeah.
Parents aren't as involved. In college, the parents are high school. Man. And so, and for me as a parent, nothing gives me greater joy than watching and supporting and following my kids.
The growth.
And watching them in their sports. I got a daughter who plays soccer. I'm the videographer. I'm the one putting the thing up. I'm sending all the parents the videos.
You got the whole set up.
I'm all into it. Then I got another daughter who is an MMA fighter.
Okay.
I never thought I'd get into it. Now I'm watching fights with her. I'm taking her to Vegas. And so, having gone through it, not that they're still young and she'll get mad at me for saying this, but the MMA thing, you're conflicted about, because you're like, if she loses, it could be really scary. And thankfully she hasn't lost yet, and hopefully won't lose. But if you lose, it could be serious.
Yeah.
So you don't want them to lose.
Yeah.
But if they win, they want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, you know, that's not, you know, as my wife says, you know, you make plans and God laughs. But as a parent, so I can only imagine for my parents, like they just, and you know what? To be able to share the journey with them, the ups and the downs, because there were some downs too. But that moment, like that was a surreal moment. You guys experienced, your guests have experienced it. And it's almost like you feel like man, I made it.
Yeah. Right when you shaking his hand and you looking off into the crowd and them cameras flashing, you like,
I made it.
You drafted to the Pistons, number 3. You know, your boy was drafted number 3. You them 3 boys, you know. You get drafted to the
18,
Pistons,
I'm
and you know, like you're a fan of history. You know the Isaiahs and the Joe Dumars. They won in an era where nobody gave them a chance to win in the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson era. But like I say, your idols become your rivals. I remember my cousin was telling me that you can't be a fan no more. And the way you started that season off, you definitely wasn't no fan no more. Cause I see how you shook Scotty up, but how was it like your first year being there and seeing like the guys that you dreamed about playing against or playing with, and now, like you say, it's all on you now. You don't have the Laettners or nobody to kind of give you that push in front. Even Isaiah and Joe Dumars and them was on their back end, like you right in and ready to go, and they wanted you, the organization, the town wanted you to go. How was that to have that pressure and to be ready to go and to, you know, test your might?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Now I think, so it was a bit of a transitional period for that franchise. You know, they had the bad boys, had great success. They won. They kind of were declining. Lambeer retired mid-year the year before. Isaiah retired that summer I got, drafted. Joe was still on the roster. The year before they drafted Lindsey Hunter and Allen Houston. So I was next up. So it was almost like you could feel like a transition was occurring, but the expectations weren't high at all. The summer before I arrived in Detroit, I was down at Duke and I was, just playing pickup ball all summer. And Quinn Snyder, who, formerly coached recently at Utah, he at that point had been an assistant with Larry Brown with the Clippers. And so in pickup ball, he was like, yo, man, like when you play pickup, you're coming at people, pop, pop. You do the legs, crossover, getting by people. But when you play in the game, you're backing people down. And so I'm doing like the Magic, Steve Smith, where you handle like this. And he said, in the NBA, you can do that. And so I remember him like literally told me that maybe 2 weeks before I left to go to like camp. And so when I got there, I was like really sounds crazy, but I was like, man, this is easy. Like I'm not going against guys that aren't used to defending this kind of play. So my first game, like I came in and, like I don't know, 20, I mean, I don't remember the game, but I've heard about it because I think Paolo did something similar recently, but I had like 25, 10 and 5, like just, and I was able to just get to where I wanted.
Speed through.
So I'm calling my boys up like, yo, man, the league, man, it's overrated. Like I'm feeling myself, you know what I'm saying? And all of that. But, once they get a scouting report on you and they figure you out after 15 games, it got a little bit harder. But yeah, like I was ready. Like I was confident. I was assured who I was. I was ready for the moment. I embraced the challenge of being like the face or whatever. And it was crazy. It was a bit of a whirlwind. Jordan had retired. And for whatever reason, a lot came my way. And so, I'm signing shoe deals and doing commercials and, magazines. Like everything was just happening really, really fast.
How was it to be the first rookie to lead the All-Star in votes, fan voting? Like you beat Shaq out, like, and no rookie had ever led the league in votes for All-Star. Like how, like at that point you had to be like, damn.
Yeah, no, I was. I mean, like I remember the PR guy there, Matt Dobeck. He was like, man, there's a chance that you may start an All-Star game. I'm like, start? Like, dude, I can't believe I'm being all. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, not only start, you going to lead the whole joint.
But I think a couple things. One, the league, the NBA, is a global marketing and public relations firm. Like, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who comes in, like, they can promote and market their players all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
We all can go all over the world, which we've done, and people know who we are because of our association with the league. And so when there's, I call it fresh meat, but when there's young players coming in, they're gonna promote them.
Yeah.
I think the benefit I had was, in some ways, playing at Duke. Whether you liked Duke or you hated Duke, you saw Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember before I left, Coach K's wife, Mrs. Krzyzewski, she told me, like, and I'm not saying the right numbers, but she said, like, of the 120 games or 115 games you played in college, 112 of them are on national TV. And so the visibility over 4 years, playing 3 Final Four championship games, I just felt like that people knew who I was. And then I came in out the gate and I was like, I was balling.
Mm-hmm.
And so a combination of that and then maybe the league, like it just, and so, but I wasn't, I was just like, man, I just want to come in and like show that I was worth the pick.
Yeah.
But then when it started all happening, it was like, and then the All-Star, I'm watching these guys just a year before, and now I'm in the room with Scotty and Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, all these guys, and so I didn't feel, I don't know if I felt like I belonged, and I felt like I still had a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But I mean that changed over in a few years, but like at first it was like I said, it was a whirlwind, man. Like it was crazy.
Did you ever feel like in that early part of it that you had some people looking at you like they trying to give you something that you don't deserve and like, oh, I'm gonna show y'all that I gotta serve y'all up?
Yeah, people came at you. I think people thought Duke, this kid's getting all this attention, whatever. So they came at you, but like I was going right back at to me that was
that's right.
So and then look, I think subconsciously I always live with that. I think people look, your dad played in the NFL.
Yeah.
We're going to go at him. You know what I'm saying? And so like coming up 10, 11, 12, like playing older people have these. And so, I'm like, I only know how to play one way. So that's not going to intimidate me or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, people would try you, and that was fine. I mean, and I don't mean try you in the sense of trying to fight you, but be physical or intimidate. And but that that didn't. And like I said, it sounds pretty arrogant me saying, but like I came in like I was busting their ass.
Oh no, you supposed to.
You know what I'm saying?
You
when
definitely was doing
for
that.
real. Like I had a really good start.
Well,
still wonder why I shared the co-rookie of the year with J Kidd. My God.
Okay, J Kidd.
When we dream about the league, and one of the things we dream about the league, having a nickname or having our own shoe. Like, did you think that, like, you look back now, like, this is your Fila shoe is like one of the classics of the culture. Like, to this day, it's still a classic of the culture. I had
how and why Fila though?
It's a great story. It's a great.
I never liked the Fila shoe, but yours was the hardest one ever.
I appreciate that.
Fila has credibility because of the Grand Hill shoe.
So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the question. And there's a little story there. So I was Nike, like I was all the way. Like we wore Adidas for 3 years at Duke, and then the last year we wore Nikes, and I went out to Beaverton and met, did the whole thing with, before the draft. And I remember sitting with Phil Knight, and he was like, this speaks to his vision for the future. But he was talking about the Far East and talking about going over to China and the Far East and those countries and expanding and growing the game, but growing Nike in those markets. So he was saying you and how you comport yourself, like you would really resonate. He wanted to have me at the Great Wall of China via satellite for the NBA draft. And so all my people were like, "Oh, that's a great idea." And I'm thinking, man, I want that moment with Commissioner Starr. I want to be there. Like I'm, but like it was all Nike. The negotiations got kind of screwed up. They kind of lowballed me, and it was posturing or whatever. And then Fila's headquarters were in Baltimore. My dad's from Baltimore. So he said, let's just go over there and look. Not thinking anything of it. So we go over there and, I'm like, okay, they got some nice stuff, and I'm thinking like growing up, like, either in the country clubs, like the tennis players or like the Doughboys and the rap, or Fila. But and Fila was kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of like aspirational in the 80s, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was looked at, but it wasn't looked at as a performance brand for basketball. Yeah. So I'll be real with you. Like they had a couple sheets of paper at the conference room, and I turned to that second page and the money. Like, I could wear some Fila. You know what I'm saying?
We consider that.
He got money. He got money.
So I'm getting lowballed over here.
They got money. You know what they offer and know what they offer. Yeah, stuff changed.
Oh, they got money.
No, that was it. I mean, I hate to say it. That was the initial, like, okay, like that opened my eyes. And then, we ended up going forward with it.
But the reception you got, because a lot of people had your shoe. A lot of people wore your shoe. To have people like, you got the deal, but people still got to buy your shoe. To see people wearing it the way they was wearing it, because everybody in my school and stuff was wearing either Grant Hills or different stuff. How was that for you?
It was crazy. So one thing, I don't know if this still stands, but I want to say, like, up until like 2000, it was the highest grossing debut shoe, like a signature shoe. Mm-hmm. And that included like Jordan, that included Shaq, included AI, all those guys. So I was, like I said, I was overwhelmed. Like I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
They had Jamal Mashburn from the year before. He wore Filas.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden it took off.
Yeah.
One of the big things, and I think it was a period of time too, where you have the convergence of sport and music and culture. But like one of the like Method Man wore them in a video with Mary J.
Yeah.
Like that was crazy to me. Like, oh, smack, he's wearing my shoe. Like, and then you go places, you go to games, and kids would want you to sign the shoes, or you might, see people wearing your shoes at the mall or whatever. And so it was just like, man, I got my own shoe. Like, and then, Fila sending you stuff. Like they send, I mean, you guys probably still got the, but like, with Jumpman, but they send you all types of apparel and shoes. My boys are good. Like everybody's good.
Whole
like,
family wearing Fila.
Everybody's wearing Fila. And so it was just, it was, man, life was good. I can't complain. Like that was.
How is it to like he said, you did all of that back then, and it did what it did. Like you said, it did the records to the debut shoe. How was it mind blowing when they came back to you like, we want to retro it and bring it out now in 2020? What was it, 21 when they first brought it back, or 20? Like to see it make a comeback, and you like, y'all really want to do this again? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how was that for you?
So it was crazy. Like I remember it was 2018. We were talking, and I went in to meet with Fila, and I literally just went in because I wanted some like velour sweatsuits. Like I just like seriously. And we had been for real. I mean, it's a true story. I left Fila, went to Adidas for a couple of years, went to Nike, and I finished my career wearing Nike.
Yeah.
And so I'm in New York. John Epstein, who's passed away, but he was the CEO then. He was the CEO when I was with Fila at the end. I just went in to kind of clear the air. We hadn't caught up in a while, and I was just like, man, if I could get some gear, I'm good. Mm. And he was like, we want to reconnect. Mm-hmm. The 90s are in. Kids today like things that have a story.
Yeah.
And so like vinyl's in with this young demographic.
Mm-hmm.
Vinyl, there's a story. You got the photo album, you got the credits. Like it's a picture, like very different than kids now just downloading. There's no, back in the day, that's how we felt connected to the artist.
Yeah.
By looking at the,
CD cover.
All that.
Read the book, all that.
And so the shoes too, like there's a story behind it, and people like they want that. And so I was like, all right, y'all say so. Like I was thinking like people really want the shoes, but they put him back out. I still get a royalty check, and it's
Nice
it's crazy. So it's all good. But I never saw that coming. Never saw that coming.
Yeah, it's part of the culture. It's culture driven. So I knew it was coming back right. Just seeing everything else come back, like, yeah, you got to get them Grand Hill, them Fila Grand Hills. That's the only time I hear Fila name is when they mention the Yo shoe name.
Hey, but tell me this though. So your rookie year, you the first rookie to ever lead the All-Star in votes. Like, that's cool now. Then your second year, you outvote MJ. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like, come on, bro. Like, what?
That was crazy. That was
Tell
crazy.
me where your mind went when that happened. Like, that's not gonna happen. But then that happened.
Yeah, no, I mean that was. I still don't. I don't know how that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, that was. I got.
Came back too.
So yeah, he did, and he coming off Space Jam. Like, it was just a lot of the league needed him. Everybody wanted him back, embraced him back, and at this point, I kind of gotten to know Mike. Mike, I see him in Durham, from time to time. But a real funny story. So I'm in LA the summer of '95 after my rookie year, and I'm there I'm taping Living Single. So I'm out there doing that, and they built this dome for Mike on the Warner Brothers lot, and I find out that they're playing pickup ball. And so I go over there. Now I got my Grand Hill 2s with the patent leather, and he's got his with Jordan
Space Jam 11.
No, with the patent leather.
Yeah, the retro 11.
So I'm thinking like, oh, this dude took, he's stealing my patent leather. He's probably thinking the same thing, but they're not out yet.
Yeah.
Like, they're not in the stores yet. And so we're playing pickup ball. Now that first day, man, when I tell you, I gave him the business. I was killing Mike. Like, I was like literally like my jumper. I didn't really shoot the ball well. My jumper was hitting. I'm crossing him up. Like, I'm just like, I'm going at him to the point where once again I'm done. I get on the phone with my boys, man. Yo, I'm killing Mike, man. Mike, all of that. And then I came back the next day. Oh my!
Like a whole nother person.
Oh my! I should have just quit while I was ahead, man. And I don't know if I was really killing him, like I felt like I was killing him. You know what I'm saying? But in my mind, I was killing him.
Oh, you hit one shot on Mike. It's like we were 10.
But like, man, the next day, all that footwork in the post, like guarding me, not letting me get anywhere. Like, it was a whole different person. And but I had that one moment, but now I always enjoyed competing against him and competing with him in the All-Star game. And but I didn't guard him a whole lot because I matched up with Scotty a lot. But to beat him in the All-Star, like, come on, man. I still, I don't know if my mom was voting multiple times or what, but something happened.
When I got to the league, one of my moves that used to work was that right to left crossover. Seeing your right to left crossover all the time, like, how was it for your right to left to work? When you seen your right to left work every game, because I seen you bring it out every game. You don't bring it out all the time. One time maybe in the first half, one time maybe in the second half. To see that move work, how was that? Because I seen you cross Scotty and dunk that thing, and I was like, damn, that right to left work every single time he bring it out.
Yeah, it's funny because I would go through my legs left to right and then try to come cross you over. And that came from watching Chris Jackson and Tim Hardaway. But I couldn't do it like
as
Tim
fast
Hardaway
as they
would go
bop.
And I just couldn't. So to me, that like dribble through the legs is kind of a
Just
lazy
a
dribble. It was a setup. And then either I'd cross you up or go.
Yeah.
And I probably carried a little bit, but no, I mean, like I said, like I don't think players were used to somebody coming at them like that back then, somebody tall. And I remember years later, I was guarding KD. I was in Phoenix. I'm guarding Durant. And, with Durant, like back then, my strategy with Kevin was, he kind of shoots from his left side. So he's going to go left, he's going to pull up.
Yeah.
If he goes right, I want to force him to go right, but I want him to pull up.
Yeah.
He may get to the. I don't want him to go right to the rim.
I just want to set him off. Yep.
And so, man, one time he's guarding me, and he did a double crossover on me, and like,
oh yeah,
he I don't know what he did, but he did something. And it was just like, man, like, the bar just gets, and he had a crazy jump shot. But the game, it's part of the game evolving, and we're standing on other people's, games, and we get inspired by that. And, you see guys now doing things that are amazing. But back then, I think, like J Kidd, like I think one of the things with J Kidd, he didn't beat you with anything.
Nah.
He was just so fast.
He had a speed crossover.
Exactly.
He just changed direction.
Yeah. And I think I was deceptively quick. Sometimes I look at the stuff, I'm like, man, I look slow. But I think I could get by people.
Get to where you need to get to.
And I didn't really shoot the ball that great. I developed that later. But yeah, now the crossover, like I said, DC, everybody wanted to crossover. Yeah. Like that was it.
I want to rewind back to to going out to LA and being in the Dome, because you share something like me and my boy here. You was in year 2. You know what I'm saying? You was going out to LA to be a big time TV show star on Living Single. We did those things. We was on Arliss and 1-on-1.
I remember the Arliss one. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, tell me how that was for you. And it's like, I'm gonna bring up my wife, and I gotta bring up Ashley, because they big Living Single fan. Like, literally, how everything on the apps now. I wake up in the middle of the night and Living Single is on TV in my house. So for real, it was like, I didn't see it. But she was like, you gotta ask him about being on Living Single. So she was showing it to me. How was that for you? And she brought up a great point. She like, how come in the 90s we did it in the early 2000s, but like, why all the TV shows always had us in some elementary school gym with a little fake default jersey? They can't put the NBA stuff, and then they got us dunking on a little basket like that. Like, how was that whole experience for you though?
Well, you're right about the basketball court. That was crazy. So I didn't know what I was getting into.
And this man was on there. For y'all that don't know, please go look it up. He on there playing the piano. He's singing.
Every scene.
He's saying that. He was in the whole show.
So let me tell you something. So let me tell you.
So in the whole show.
So I had done earlier that year. I did Home Improvement. So I did that.
Oh,
that
okay,
summer.
with Tim.
But that was just and that was based in Detroit. So there was a natural. So and it was just like one scene, and so it was like easy.
This man
and so they agreed. Show. They asked me to do it, so I flew out to LA, and remember the old Hotel Nico, Beverly Hills?
Yeah,
maybe it's a different name, but when you guys got there, but it was. So I'm staying there. They dropped the script off the night before the reading, and so I didn't even look at the script. Like I'm like, because I'm like, I'm just got one scene. I'm not, So we get to the table reading, and if we tape on a Tuesday night, I think the table reading is like the next day. So it was like a Wednesday. And so they taped the episode before, the night before, and then we're sitting there and we're going through, and I'm like, damn, I gotta really act. Like I got a lot of stuff here. Like I'm like, they got me, kissing, and they got me playing the piano, they got me singing. I'm like, I can't do all that. Like I'm like, and not that I'm like, I can't, I'm just like, I
ain't signed up for this.
Yeah, I didn't sign up for this. And so the funny thing is that we go through, we rehearse all week. We got the weekend off. That's when I was playing ball with MJ. We do a dress rehearsal the night before. I think it was like the Monday night, the following week. So I had a kissing scene with Latifah on the couch, and but we never rehearsed. So I didn't know. Like, what are we doing here? Like, like it was never. Nobody told me. Like,
you just kissed like the neck, right?
So
you went in for the real deal.
No. So the scene was we kissed to black. So that means kiss to commercial,
right?
Yeah.
And so we get cued
when y'all stop kissing.
When to stop kissing.
So y'all got a whole lips.
Yeah. So we do the scene. Like, I mean, if I see it now, like leading up to, I'm nervous about doing this part. Like, I'm like, I don't know what are we doing? Like, I don't know. And it's never been discussed. What is this? Like, talk to me. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not the real actor here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so scene comes, and we start kissing, and they don't cue us. And so it felt like we were on the couch like
forever.
Like making out.
longer than I had anticipated.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. And so, but anyway, no, it was you know, it was cool, and it was a show. I still get more people that talk to me. Like I run into them, like, man, I just saw you on Living Single.
Yeah.
Or people might even tweet and all
Everybody
that.
loves
Living
That's hilarious.
But that was a classic show.
Classic.
And I was, you know, I'm
Definitely
certainly
a classic
honored.
show.
But I definitely did more than I
That
bargained
man
for.
was playing piano. He was singing.
Oh,
he sang the Queen Latifah, the Regine. He was singing.
Yeah, Regine.
Oh, that thing was funny, man.
Yeah.
The decision to leave Detroit and go to Orlando, like, just take us through the process of the talks, what made you decide to finally go, what you was thinking on as the team was getting set up with T-Mac and particularly maybe Duncan trying to come over there. Like, what's your version of it?
Well, two things. One, I never thought I'd leave Detroit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I obviously did, but my intention was, you know, like to me, it was Isaiah. Like before every game in the Palace, I looked at his banner. Like to me, that's the standard. That's what I'm chasing. That's what I want to accomplish. And when I got hurt, I hurt my ankle. It was kind of mismanaged at the end of that last year. I was probably emotional and probably upset and directed a lot of that anger towards the team.
Towards Detroit, yeah.
And so I think in that moment, then I started thinking like, man, I'm out. You know, basically, long story short, like
We
I'm
all
out.
go through that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but I think prior to the injury, I wasn't thinking at all about leaving Detroit. And so, you know, Tim and I had the same agent, and we both made a trip down to Orlando. The year before that year, Doc Rivers coached them. They were 500. They had a lot of pieces. They didn't really have the stars. You know, they had some good support pieces, and we had a good visit. You know, obviously I've said this before publicly that, you know, Tim's girlfriend asked Doc, could wives or girlfriends travel on a team plane?
Doc dropped the ball on this one, boss.
Yeah, I mean.
Dropped the ball on this one, boss.
And so I didn't know at the time, but I guess that last year in San Antonio, the Spurs started allowing that to happen and started really recruiting her in a way to help keep Tim. This is what I've been told. I don't know if this is the absolute truth. And so she was accustomed to that. For me at that point, like girlfriends and wives didn't travel on team play. Like that was like, to me, that seemed like a unusual question.
Yeah, it depends. Like
it's changed now.
It wasn't a usual thing, but if we going home and they there, instead of them waiting the whole day the next day to leave, they be like, come on, ride back with us.
Right.
You know,
well, when I got to Phoenix, like that was under. Like,
yeah, that was
Phoenix
was a whole different
Phoenix,
world.
Like,
that was a whole different
you
world.
Bring nannies, kids, there you bring, you know.
Our
whatever.
homeboys could sit in practice.
Yeah,
like you know, the arena, that little. Yeah, our homeboys would sit like and chill and watch practice.
So that was the first time that I experienced that when I got to Phoenix 7 years later. But at that point, when I heard that question, I was like, that just seemed out of the ordinary. But and then T-Mac, he didn't make the trip, but they were talking about, look, we can get all three of y'all. Now, I didn't know T-Mac was that good. I knew he was good.
Right.
And
I didn't either.
Nobody knew at that point. When
I got to the league, I didn't know.
I mean, he was good.
Then.
He was good in Toronto. He could defend. He could score.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize. So I'm thinking, you got me, you got Mac, you got Tim. Man, we're off to the races.
Definitely
like we're like,
was.
and then Tim, you know, ended up staying. They recruited him hard. David Robinson flew back from Hawaii. Like, and he made the right decision. I mean, that was obviously the right thing. But you know, for me, I showed up. My ankle just wasn't right, and it, you know, I basically, long story short, came back too soon, and probably should have waited initially a little bit longer, and then coming back too soon. I'm gonna probably explain more than I should, but I ended up getting what's called a non-union, and a non-union is that if these two fingers are one bone and they break. Typically what they do is they put them back together, they put pins in there to hold it together and let the body heal. But the two bones healed, but they didn't heal together. And so now that's what took essentially 3 more years and 3 more surgeries to try to get that to heal. So I do think, I can't say this with absolute certainty, but I think if we had waited a little bit longer, and I'm responsible as well. As I can't blame the team or the dog. Like, to me, nobody put a gun to my head and said you got to play. But like that sort of derailed the next 4 years. But what was interesting though, right away, I'm sitting there like, man, this team mad kid. Like before the season started, I'm like, oh my, like, man, if I can get right with him, like it's gonna be a problem.
He went through one. He went through. Every time I seen him, it was 30. It was 30. I want to ask you this though. I want you to explain from your point of view, and I want you to explain how strong your wife has to be in this.
Right.
Like when you're going through an injury, doing the things that we doing and doing for something that we love so much to do, and you can't get out there and play, to go through that injury, you have to persevere. Right. You got to have a mindset, you know what I'm saying, a strong mindset, and it'd be tough days that you have. I want you to just explain to, like, man, what you went through when you went through that whole process to not give up on yourself, to finally come back with Phoenix and so forth on. Because I see every player, like when I see D Rose, when I see another player that go, I know the mindset, the mental, the daily work, the everyday, and not only you, if you have a spouse or a wife, she has to go through that same stuff with you and be there with you on your low days and on your high days. So explain that to us.
And you had a knee, right? Didn't you? Yeah. So you both probably lived it.
Microfracture.
Yeah, microfracture. Yeah. So no, that's a great question. I think first of all, with the wives, with the spouses, that I think everybody sees the perks that come with being married, to somebody in the NBA. But there's also there's challenges, you know what I'm saying? And the schedule, being gone. Times I think feeling like you're, a single parent. So it's not. I have respect for that, and I think unless you've been in it, it's hard to fully understand. But then the injuries, like that's, I had 5 ankle surgeries, and I'm on crutches, and so I had a little bell. And it's like I needed something, you know what I'm saying? And so to me, it like eventually threw that bell. And it was like, and then when I had to have like, I don't know, my 3rd surgery, 4th surgery, it was kind of like I remember she was like, I can't take another surgery. Like it just, so the toll on them is real.
It's real.
I do think for us though, as athletes, we're naturally conditioned to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say like, we're in a game, you're down 10 with 6 minutes left, you believe you got a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You go against, we talked about Michael Jordan. You're going out there to compete.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You playing the Bulls or you playing, the Warriors during their dynasty. Or you playing any great team. You going in there feeling like you're gonna win. And you may not win, but you that's the mindset that I think sports helps to cultivate. And so going through an injury, it's like I'm gonna fight through this. For me, what I realized, I suppress a lot of it. Like I just kind of like, I'm gonna get through it. Like I'm here. Like okay, I'm gonna make up it on the back end. I kept saying I'm gonna play till I'm 40, and I'm telling y'all, the day I turned 40, I was with the Clippers my last year. My knee, it was like I was done, and it was training camp, and I knew like my body. And I kept saying I should have said 45, but but yeah, like I think it's so going through all of that. It was hard. I don't think I really dealt with it until I got in the Hall of Fame. And what I mean by that is, I'm the type of person that I'm goal oriented. I got things I want to accomplish. I don't look back. I'm constantly looking forward. In my house in Detroit, my house in Orlando, different stages of my career and where we've lived, I've never displayed my accomplishments because I'm always trying to go forward, trying to do something new, trying to accomplish something else. I always felt like that made you soft if I did that because you rest naturally on your Lord. So I wanted to stay hungry. And so when I got to the Hall of Fame and that build up to the Hall of Fame, that's naturally a moment to reflect.
Yeah,
that's naturally
all the work.
You're just going to reflect on everything. It's the last. It's like the capstone on your career. And so in that moment, I think I started to realize that I suppressed a lot of things. And didn't fully deal with them in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I mean, people suppress things that are far worse than not being able to play. But I was just driven. Like I was like, I'm gonna figure out a way to get back.
Stack my days.
Yeah.
Just stacking my days.
Every day. And so I wasn't the same player when I came back. And that's the one, not that I have regrets, but you know, I think when you have your weapons and you go out on the court, you have to have a belief. I don't care who you're going against. You always feel like I'm the best player or I'm going to win this matchup.
Yeah.
And I felt that before I got hurt. Like when I was on that court, I'm like, man, MJ, he got to guard me.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, just you have to think that way. And you guys have all felt that way.
Yeah, you got to be that way.
And I know because I played against y'all and I can feel it. And you can tell when somebody doesn't. You know when somebody's scared.
Yeah.
And so when I came back, I didn't have that same edge. I didn't have that same, I don't want to say same dog, but that same standard maybe. I was just happy to be back, which is a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? You've been out for so long. It's beautiful to be like, I'm appreciative, but like I didn't come back like, kicking ass, taking names type of deal. I came back just like, hey, you want me to guard? You want me to do this? No, I'll do it. You want me to you know what I'm saying?
I had a lot of respect for when you did finally make it back to the court because I can remember we played, we guarded each other. Yeah. And I was like, like in my mind, you know how whatever it is, you like, all right, like he ain't that G Hill that's about to goddamn. But I can remember being like, yo, like after the game, like Bush ain't about nothing like G Hill out here going though. Like played hard as shit. Man. You know what I'm saying? And was like you said, guarding, doing everything. I can't believe this man playing this fucking hard. Like he playing hard as he was playing hard as hell. Like hustling and like then I felt like you had gotten stronger and was way more physical then. Like I was like, that's what I feel like he trying to push and like I'm the pusher around this bitch. Like he trying to push me. Like, okay. But like I can remember then I remember you playing like you got like I think like 09, one of them years you played like all 82 games. And I remember like it wasn't like obviously it wasn't like big deal, but I'm one of them people that watch all of the games. And I can remember them talking about it, and I was like, God damn, like I remember having a whole lot of respect for that. Like, boy, this boy went through what he went through, and like we was all talking about like, yo, G Hill playing hard as fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was a respect factor from us for it.
I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, I think you look at and like I said, it's not a bad thing, but like every moment is like you look at it differently. I'll tell you a story. So in 2000. And this is how silly and foolish I could be, but 2000 All-Star game in San Francisco, and I wore contacts. And, back then the trainer would hold your contacts. You know what I'm saying? So you went on the road, the trainer holds your contacts. Yeah. If you went broke or whatever, you just call the trainer up. Yeah. That's how spoiled we are as NBA players. Definitely. So I go to All-Star weekend, and I only have like one pair of contacts. And so the night before the game, one of them breaks. And so the trainer's not there. And so I'm like, what do I do? You know what I'm saying? Like, and so do I just not wear any? So I wore one contact and it didn't have the other one on. And during the game, I tried to throw an alley-oop to Vince, and I threw it like way over. And so I was off, you know what I'm saying? And so I remember I was telling my friend, I was telling him about it. I was like, he was like, really? He was like, yeah, I tore my contact. And I said, oh, that'll be next year. And then next year, I was hurt. And so when you go through that, you appreciate it more. And that's why you're talking about playing hard and just every possession and feeling like I had to play hard because I didn't have all my weapons and I couldn't do everything. I was older. And it was crazy. I remember I used to get to the jump ball and this is, Phoenix years. I get to the jump ball and you see somebody or whatever. And they look up at my hair and they see the grays. And I was like, oh, they see my gray. I'm gonna run the shit out of them. And so, and like, I'm just gonna run up and down the court all day.
Exactly. I'm like, yo, why is this motherfucker running so hard? Yeah. I swear to you, that shit is funny because he used to be gone.
And Nash, he's gonna throw it to you. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm gonna get 3-4 layups just beating everybody down the floor.
Yeah.
And but no, I mean, it was, I'm glad I did it. I still had the desire to love. And once it's over, it's over. And I saw that with my dad. I saw it with his generation, that once you walk away from it, there's no going back.
No, it's definitely that.
So I'm gonna do it as long as I can.
And we in a league that, you know, they smell blood. If they see you got an injury, you a little bit hurt, you can't do the things that we done seen you do before. Nobody's taking no chance on you. They not giving you nothing. You got to take everything you get in this league. So I know, like, when you come back, like just seeing Penny, you know, Penny was one of our favorites, and getting into the league, and Penny is with Phoenix. Penny wasn't the guy that was jumping and moving and all that, and we was going at his ass. Like,
let me tell you a story about that. Not Penny, but a story about MJ. So his last year with the Wizards, it's gonna be his last season. We go to DC. We played him earlier in the year, and it was crazy. Like, I'm guarding MJ, and he's older now, so he's not, obviously. We guys were in the league when he was playing that year, but I blocked his shot 2 or 3 times. Like, I feel like I'm just kind of like, you know, like guarding him. You know what I'm saying? And so we played him on TNT, and we go to DC, and my doctor, who was in Baltimore, I think this was the 2002-2003 season. So it might have been like in November or December. I go see the doctor. My ankle's messed up again. And like, I'm going to have season-ending surgery. But I want to play against Mike one more time.
One more time.
Like, because I know this is it. Like, I'm not going to see him again. Man, he was killing me, man. Like,
I should have got my ass out.
Man, I should have just said, you know what? I should have quit.
Just let it go.
When I was ahead, but the ego, the pride, the competitor. So the same stupid little turn down play, and I couldn't move. And he knew. Like, you know, so to your point, like, you know when somebody's scared. You just know it. And you know when somebody wants to compete, and you respect when somebody's going to want to square up with you and compete. You may win, they may win, but you respect that they're not scared.
I want to get your take, your perspective, because we had a few guys on here that was part of that team, the college select team that played against the Dream Team. And we had a few different stories about, you know, how y'all was doing well, and we had Mashburn, how Bird ran up on him and talk reckless to him. Like, tell me your perspective. Like, how was that for you, the whole experience? What was you thinking before, during, and after that whole experience with the Dream Team?
Man, that was one of the best weeks of my life. I mean, just as a fan, it was after my second year at Duke. It's me, Mashburn, Allen Houston, Penny, Bobby Hurley, Montrose, Rodney Rogers, 8 of us.
Webber.
And I can't see Webb. Like, yeah, I mean, we get to La Jolla. We're in a nice hotel, resort. We get there early. We go out and play that first game, and I know there's been a lot of talk about what happened, but we busted, you know, we went at them. Allen Houston hit like 10 threes. Webber was just dunking everything inside. Bobby could get by into the paint, make plays. Everybody, Penny, myself, we're bringing the ball, like dunk, like just, it was one of the most magical moments that I've ever had, because you're going against these heroes.
Right.
And we didn't like nowadays, you're a top high school, top college player. You might play against a pro. You might see him. Shoot, you might have played against him in high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, back then, it was a little bit different.
Whole team of them.
Yeah, so these are legends. Magic, Bird, Michael, like, you know, Clyde, Malone. Pat Ewing, Malone. I mean, just down the list. And so, and then, well, before that day, so we had a little practice the day before, and we all were getting back from practice, and we get on the elevator, and Larry Bird's on the elevator, and he's chirping. Now, at this point, I didn't realize Larry talked trash. Yeah. But he's talking, and I didn't realize how big he was. Yeah. Like, he's 6'10". Right. But he's on I'm like, yo, he talks a lot of trash. Like, I didn't see that. I didn't think that he was a trash talker. But nah, man, look, you know, Coach.
What did he say?
I can't remember what he was saying. He's like, y'all better get y'all rest, because I'm blah, blah, blah. He was like talking all this noise. And so Coach K in the Dream Team documentary said that Chuck Daly threw that scrimmage to kind of get them to focus. But nah, And he tried to say he sat Michael out. Man, look, Michael got some of that. He might not have got all of it, he got some of it. But it ain't like the rest of the guys were terrible. Like you go, you know what I'm saying? Like even if Michael did sit, they still should have won.
Blow y'all out.
Now the next day, we couldn't get the ball over half court. We had Michael and Scotty.
They pressed up like that.
Oh man, it was a whole different. But it woke them up. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it showed them that they could lose.
Yeah.
But that was, man, we were in La Jolla. We're hanging with Mike, with Scott. Like it was just, man, it was
unreal.
We talk amongst ourselves, like Penny, myself, Alan. We got to do a documentary on that week.
Yeah, definitely.
Just through our lens. Like what we experienced. We all on the verge of being in the NBA.
Yeah.
We all, a lot of us go on to be all-stars.
Yeah.
But what that was like for us. But that showed me, I could play on this level. Like that showed me I can play with these guys, and it was a real eye opener.
I need that documentary. I need to see all that.
I need that too. How is it to hear like your peers, like guys, like even on our show, man, guys just because I know your career didn't go the way you wanted it to go, but man, to hear guys like us and other guys and other veterans and Hall of Famers just speak up on your game, what they liked about your game, the way you played, the way you carried yourself. Like, how is that for you?
No, I mean, look, anytime somebody, says anything that's positive, you feel good about it. I think what I struggled with was I don't know if I saw what everybody else saw or what those people, such as yourselves, have said today and also said throughout the years. And what I mean by that is, for a period of time, looking back on my career, I saw the struggle, I saw the hurt, the fighting through the injury, and then coming back and having to outrun Q to score. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like being that role player. That sometimes I forgot who I was before all that. And so, I think writing a book, having to go back and live in these moments and, talk about things, what I recall, like it helped me sort of appreciate the totality of my career. And appreciate those moments. Because like my wife, it's fine, it's a bad analogy, but my wife is a recording artist and all that. And she's not super, super active, but she still works and, gets out there from time to time. But, we live in Orlando and she'll play tennis with, the ladies at the tennis club or whatever. And they don't really know who she is. You know what I'm saying? And so they're like, oh, you sing. Do you do bar mitzvahs and weddings? So they don't, but then we go to certain markets and we go to Atlanta, we go to Detroit, we go to DC.
She's a star.
She's a star. And so sometimes you forget who you are or forget what you've done.
Yeah.
And so for me to be able to reflect, to go through the Hall of Fame, to write a book, to just just appreciate those years. But here's the thing. I'm chasing Isaiah. I'm chasing legends when I'm in Detroit. We're not winning. We're not having that success. We won 28 games my first year, 46 my second, 54 my third, and then we went backwards my last 3 years. And so to me, it wasn't because I was in Detroit or whatever, but we weren't winning.
Yeah.
I came from Duke where it was about winning.
Yeah.
And I felt like we had a chance. Even if we didn't win, the goal was to win. And you start looking around like, well, we know we're close to winning.
Yeah.
And so it was hard for me to celebrate my own individual when as a team we weren't having that kind of success.
I never lost ever in my life until I got to the NBA, being on just losing teams.
It's hard.
So it's hard to just lose when you ain't never lost like that before.
No question.
I'll say this from this perspective. Being who you know what I'm saying, who you were and the projection of where everything could have went if you stayed healthy, for you to have that perseverance and fight to go through everything you went through, and then still, like you said, when you came out on the other side, you knew you weren't the same dude, right. But for you to still operate the way you did and go about things the way you did and be like you were an example, and I wasn't even in that locker room. Just to know that you came back and did what you did and were doing what you were doing in that way. Us as players and peers, we viewed it with a great deal of respect. Like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Because, you got money. I didn't have that much money. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to keep doing what you were doing. You was straight for all intents and purposes, but that was more to me he's showing about love for the game, passion, going about it, and then to come out here and like you say, you was Grand Hill, and then to come back and not be that, you ain't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? That was dope to me.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And first of all, I think I think it's hard in any sport when you've been, at the top,
Mm-hmm.
and now to not be that same player.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, sometimes it just happens gradually as you get older.
Exactly.
You kind of you adjust. You adjust your game accordingly. But for me, like it happened, like,
Yeah.
Highway
and so
rivalry.
I'll give you an example. My last year in Detroit, and I know somebody's going to correct me on this, but like my last year in Detroit against Orlando, I might have averaged 38, 30, whatever, high 30s, 40 a game against Orlando. Monty Williams, coach of Phoenix. Monty's my guy. I come so that was 2000 season. I come to Orlando in September, we're playing pickup ball, and Monty's kicking my butt.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and obviously I'm not right, you know what I'm saying? And Monty's a great player, but like he's having his way with me. And so, like, you're accustomed to being able to do things and then not being able to do it. And then, okay, how am I going to adjust?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I wish I would have pushed myself a little harder, but also I'm proud that I was able to reinvent myself.
Yeah.
I went to Phoenix. Now I go from having the ball in my hands my whole career. Now I'm standing in the corner trying to be this guy.
Yeah. How was that like in Phoenix? Like they had confidence in you to not only play, but we finna put you on the best player.
Yeah,
like you got a known history of having an ankle problem, but we putting you on Kobe. We putting you on every team's best player, and they have the confidence in you. So that should be definitely a big confidence booster in you for an organization, a team to believe in you, and not only believe in you, but to be like, yeah, we trust in you to make their best player have the hardest game they can have. And out of all the players that we got, you the one that we choosing to do that. Coming off not playing that many years, and you know what I'm saying?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I made it hard for Kobe.
No, you didn't, but like, like.
No, I mean, but I kind of, part of reinventing, I became a defensive stopper.
Yeah.
And I was like, they put me on Tony Parker, they put me on Baron Davis, they put me on Monte Ellis, they put me on whoever on the perimeter. And I kind of relished that role. But I think part of it, and this is not an indictment on players today or the environment of grassroots basketball today, but when we came up, you went to the park or you went to the playground, you went to the gym. We probably played with older people.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about the park is, one, the objective is to win, but the two is, how do I add value on this court? Because if I pick so-and-so and they can't shoot, but they're taking jumpers like they can shoot like him, they're not going to get picked.
At all.
So you got to figure out how I can, I'm 12, I'm 13, I'm playing with 20, I'm playing with men. I can't play with them like I play with my boys.
You can't.
So I got to set screens, I got to defend.
You can't make a mistake.
You can't make a mistake.
Man, young fella, I shouldn't even pick the young fella, man.
That's it.
And
I don't think kids today experience that. They learn in a silo.
Yeah.
With the coach, they learn trainer. They don't learn how to
They skill level is high, but they don't get the other stuff that comes with it.
And part of it even too, like I feel like
the strategy of the game.
We grow up being GMs. Okay, I got my 5. I got to get a shooter.
I want to play with.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? How are we what are we gonna do to where we can stay on the court all day?
All day.
And so,
regardless of who you out there with.
Yeah, and sometimes your boy, you be like, yo, like, man, you got to sit this one, man. Like, whatever it can be, you figure out how to add value. I'm not, the ball's not going to be in my hands. Steve Nash, 2-time MVP. Amari, screen and roll. I'm not a great shooter. I can hit the corner 3. What do I have to do to stay on the court? And you figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's what I just feel like that foundation of how we came up playing, you figure it out.
Yeah.
What do I got to do? Now, when we get older and we can dominate the court when we're coming up, or when we're at that level.
Yeah.
But there's a point where you're trying to play with the big boys. You're trying to, but the objective is to win. And so that to me was, I got to play this role, and this is what I got to do. That it's a different role than what I've done before, but I'm gonna do it. And I actually, you know what? I actually enjoyed it. I'll say this, man. Like, if you look at the 19 years of my career, being the all-star, superstar level, being hurt and having to go through all of that, and then coming back, being a contributor, being a role player. And then my last year in LA, I'm not playing. So I'm coming in 3-on-3. Like, matter of fact, games would be over. I'm like, I got to go home and sleep because my game's tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, and you do them 4-on-4 or 3-on-3s.
Please say that louder for the people in the back, because it's some kids out there right now on some roster that's you know not getting playing time, and
feel like
the assistant out the practice telling them, "Come on, let's get our work in," and somebody getting an attitude and they don't want to do it. Grant fucking Hill was doing it,
and look, we had it. So we had a crazy team. We had Blake, Chris Paul, DeAndre, but we had like Matt Barnes, Caron Butler, Jamal Crawford, Willie Green, Billups. I mean, we should have done better. We had a really good team. But like, to me, like that was like, because you love the game, man. Look, I don't know if you guys physically can still play. I don't know if...
Nah, these niggas ain't working like that no more.
I can. I choose not to because I want to stay healthy.
You want to stay healthy, man. So it's
keep all these ligaments in tight.
So it's a privilege.
Yes,
it's an honor to be able to in the NBA.
Yeah,
come on, man. Every day is an opportunity,
man.
And you got to stay. And you know what? There were times like you got to go in and play. You got to stay sharp. But to me, that was my game. I couldn't wait to go home after the game. Man, I'm gonna come in tomorrow. I'm doing, man. I'm and so just and so anyway, one of the things I miss is being able to play.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. What do you miss about the game? And
I mean, I miss everything. And I'm still around it. I'm still around it like you guys are in a bunch of different ways. But nothing replaces
hooping.
And I'm talking at the highest level in the NBA, but I'm talking practice. I'm talking at the
locker
park,
rooms, the bus,
belonging to something,
the
camaraderie, all of that.
That was one of the things when I first it was over. Like I got cut after training camp in Orlando in 2013. And I sat out that whole year, and I played, picked up for the playoffs with the Knicks. Then it was done. But like that year I think that was the year I went through my process of like detaching from shit. Like that was like you say, when your spouse like walk in the room, I got attitude. I'm the mad baller. I don't want to watch no hoop. He weak. Fuck, I ain't playing. Like, so I went through all of that year. Then I got signed at the end of the year. So when I got signed, I kind of knew like, yo, this could be it. This little playoff run with the Knicks, and then it was. But like I was kind of cool with it then. But like I went through all them phases. And I'm sitting there looking like, man, that's some bullshit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, I'm supposed to be the fuck out here. Like, what the fuck going on? Then it's like, that's it. That's your time, boss. Like, what else you gonna do? You ain't got no choice. Ain't no phone calls coming in. You can't, it ain't all good like how you think it's gonna be. That shit just over with.
It's over. And the thing that you've committed your life to, the thing that we talked about getting to the draft, like, but just from then on, like everything you've done, and then all, like, what do they say? Athletes die twice. And there's a part of you that dies when the realization sets in that you no longer can do it.
Mm-hmm. You've been
and we all have experienced.
That's what I'm saying. We've all since we were 4, 5, 3, however old you were when you started playing and stuff. We've been a Hawk, a Magic, a Warrior, a Cavalier, a Clipper, or whatever the fuck we were. We've been part of that team since forever. We've never not been. Like, I told my wife that one time. She like, what's going on? I'm like, man, I ain't never not been like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's my first time in like forever. Like, I can't even remember not being like on the team. Like, fuck, I'm like, and she was like, like it took some like getting used to and like learn like how the fuck am I supposed to be?
How many years did y'all play in the league?
I got 10.
13. Okay. We all came up with people, boys in high school, whatever, who had the same dreams that we had. Mm-hmm. We were fortunate to take it further. Mm-hmm. At some point, they had to walk away. Mm-hmm. But my theory is the longer you do it, the harder it is to walk away. Okay, you're 18. I'm not good enough to go from high school to college. All right, I'm go to college, start working, whatever. I can play at the Y, whatever the case may be. But it's easier to accept. Mm-hmm. But as the older you get and the longer you've done it, I'm not saying that, whatever. I'm not saying that, there's certainly perks, and we all know that exists. But the part of belonging, like being a part of something bigger than yourself, like that's something that's all you know. I'm 40 years old. And look, I'm doing amazing things now in my retirement, if you will, in my career and business and all that, whatever. But nothing replaces,
that camaraderie.
And I'm 40 years old and I'm walking away from it, and it's hard.
And this is the other reality you walking into. Like you said, we all been through it. We, as athletes, right? We the only people, when you talk about, you look at people getting doctor degrees, becoming lawyers or judges and all this, and all when they reach the pinnacle of their career, they about to ride this thing out. Not us.
No.
If you lucky, like you said 40, man, you lucky you get to 32.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 30.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We was fortunate, all of us got past that age, but I'm saying, like, then as soon as you know, and I know you know it for a fact because we do similar things. Like, I don't care who you are. As soon as you walk out of the door and you not doing this no more, you back at square one. They tell you they don't want you, they don't want us walking in the door to be an analyst at Turner or to work for the Magic. They don't want us walking in talking about, we played 20 years in the league, we know this and that. Nah. They want you to humble yourself, and you starting over from block A. You need to come in, pen and pad in hand, ready to learn, humble, and you don't know more than me. Like, and in some respects, I'm sitting here like, time out. I do need to learn, I do need this, but fuck that, I know more than you. Like, I've been doing this since, like, what you talking about? And I know it deep in, way more in depth than you. Like, what you talking about? Like, and we found that out along the way too. Like, yeah, we do need to learn a fucking lot, but like, hold up, we could teach y'all some shit too.
Well, in Broad, there's the technical aspect of like certain things. I mean, you guys have obviously done very well here and done other things in media. And so, yeah, you're making that transition. You got to learn, okay, I'm supposed to speak or project or do this or do that. But when it comes to basketball, nah. I mean, look, I know you guys know. I mean, I know Q better. I don't know you as well, although we've, competed against each other and so on. But like, just even playing against, like, I know you know the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's more than just, and I'm not saying you had to have gone through what we went through, but it helps.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? When you know what it's like to lose, and like, go on a losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then how do you manage that? And how do you prepare? Like, you've lived it. And so there's instantly a bond, instantly a sense of like, we understand each other.
To be a former player and be a co-owner of a franchise, like, it's a dream come true for a lot of players to be in that position. For you to be in that position, and how is that for you and your family?
It's surreal, and the fact that it happened so quickly after I retired, 2 years after I retired. But I was thinking about this from day one, and I remember, I don't know if you were in Detroit when Mr. Davidson, Bill Davidson, was the owner there?
No, when I came, Gores.
Okay. So I remember I signed this big rookie contract back when my year was the last year that,
Oh, yeah, that when Big Dog held everybody hostage, held it up, sat there. Go ahead, tell
No, I'm glad Big Dog did, because I probably got more money.
But I'm going to ask you something about that.
But, so, 1994, I signed like $46 million, which is a lot of money now. It was probably more money back then. And I remember Bill Davidson, like, he owns this team. This is a little side thing. He's got his real business over here. And so I'm like, man, I want to be in that position one day. And I want to be in that role. And so I, literally not sure how it would happen, but I knew it would happen at some point. And so, but to have the responsibility, Tony Ressler is our managing partner. I'm vice chairman of our ownership group. To take a franchise and add value to it, to build the infrastructure, the new arena, practice facility, G League team. You guys know this. Atlanta was a team in a market that Atlanta was always a city everybody liked to go to.
Love to.
People like to live there. It's affordable. It's a great city. It's got an international airport. There's a lot of culture there.
Yeah.
But the franchise had never really been...
Took the jump.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just something was missing. Yeah. And so I always looked at that as an opportunity. And so we're proud of what we've done. We're proud of the work, but we know we got a lot more work in front of us. You from Chicago, there's a pride in Chicago for all Chicago sports. You know, whether they're winning or losing, you're loyal. Philly has that. Boston has that. And so building that emotional connection with our audience, like that's something that we work hard. But it's fun. Like, and the great thing is, and I'm appreciative, as a former player, my voice is strong and they value my voice and my thoughts on things. You know, and so we, you know, and one thing I think Adam Silver, talking with Adam, is he recognizes we need more former players in those roles who can add value to ownership groups, who have a perspective that most ownership groups don't have. Yeah. I could look at our team and I know exactly what's going on. Like, I mean, at different times, and this is over the course of years. I can say, okay, they don't like this guy, or this guy's shooting too much, or something's going on. Like, you can just see it because you lived it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so certain things that maybe others who haven't been through, like you're saying, you know, you have that perspective.
That's why you can walk in, like you said, you can see it. They can be talking about it for a week, and you walk in one day and just start laughing, and you know. Like, straight up. This is what I want to ask, though. You referred to signing $46 million as a rookie. First of all, that shit been over with. They was the class to stop.
Big dog. Big dog.
Look, so what I want to ask is, like, from your perspective as a rookie, part of the rookie class, you about to get this big bag. And this is all normal for y'all at the time. It's not like something crazy happened. When you see him say he holding out, and it's like, damn, he demanded, like what, like, did y'all have any thoughts, like, should we be asking for more? Or what was your just whole perspective when it was all happening?
So Glenn Robinson was the number 1 pick. J. Kidd was 2. I was 3. Donyell Marshall was 4. Of the 4 of us, I signed first.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they didn't like that because I kind of maybe set the market.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jason went for 54. Big Dog was holding out for 100.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up getting 60. I think he got like 68.
Indiana, boy.
Yeah, like 67.
And but it was, I mean, man, look, you could have given me 20 or 10. Like, I was just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you go from, you know, essentially, I mean, obviously my parents, you know, subsidizing me, but I didn't have any money. I had to, and then all of a sudden you sign a contract. Like, it's the most incredible thing and also the scariest thing at the same time. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy, and they did away with that. After that,
immediately
they did the rookie slotting.
Now we got a rookie scale, everyone.
Rookie scale.
You're slotted 1 through.
You can blame my
everything.
class. You can blame my class for that. But that was that was crazy, man.
I got a start bench trade for you. You got to start 1, you got to bench 1, you got to trade 1. Kevin Durant, T-Mac, and Bird. Who do you start? Who do you bench? Who do you trade? I'm all small forwards too, right?
That's actually not so hard for me. Preference based, but
yeah, I mean that's tough, man. Because like I hated Larry Bird, but man, he was cold. But you know, I'm gonna stick with the modern era, so I'm gonna go start Durant, bench Mac, and I'm trading Bird. I'm sorry. Because I don't, you know what I don't know how his game. It'd be interesting. It's unfair to compare eras, but you know, shoot, I think Larry Bird would probably do that too. I think he would
give these folks work.
Oh no, I ain't never said
no. Larry could cope, but I'm
busy.
saying I think he would say the same thing I said.
Yeah,
I think he would do the same thing or something similar.
So I always ask this question on here, and I mean, I feel like without even asking it, you being a part owner in the Hawks is sufficient enough. But we gonna bypass that little piece of information like we don't know it. I want to know maybe the young wild G Hill that was like when you signed that 46. I want to know what G Hill did, the biggest purchase you made where you look back on it like, what the hell was I doing? But in that moment, you enjoyed the hell out of it.
Now what you got from mom and dad?
Now I don't want to hear about no
this
mom
me
and
right
dad
here.
taking care of no house. And I'm talking about something where you look back on it like, yeah, that was stupid or crazy, but it was fly at the time. And we didn't have some craziness.
Here's the thing though, like, and this may surprise you a little bit. I didn't buy anything my first, I didn't buy a car. I was in Detroit.
Got one free.
I had a deal with General Motors.
Got one free.
So they gave me a car. And then they gave me another car. They gave me a car, and then they gave me a car I could rotate every 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I was with Fila. They owned Ferrari. So they gave me a Ferrari.
Oh, shit.
And
this man got a free Ferrari.
I think the only thing I really got into, my vices was probably clothes, like buying suits. And
suited and booted.
But I didn't go crazy out the gate. I didn't
at any point. When T-Mac bought a plane. He had the craziest one. Was you his teammate when he bought the jet?
No. So did he tell y'all that?
About the jet?
About the jet?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you this funny story with that. So y'all know Dorian Boylan? He owns a Mercedes dealership.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Former baseball player.
Former baseball. Okay, I won't mention it. Anyway, so I charter a plane to go to Atlanta. This might have been 2009. I pull up to the plane. They give me an upgrade, from a mid-sized jet to a bigger jet. And I pull up, and it's T-Mac on the tail.
Yeah.
And come to find out, this dude bought this big old plane, had a flight attendant in there, 12, 13 seats on the plane. And I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong? At first I was there, I was like, man. But then I started, because I'm always, I like I said, and I have a different, maybe a unique perspective in that just, I heard all the horror stories from my parents, from my dad, from people his generation. And now they didn't make the money that we made during our time, but that's all I ever heard. That people, and not that everybody struggled, but there was some that did. So I always went in, fearful, paranoid. And so, don't get me wrong, over time, as you make a lot of money and you put it away and you start investing and you do things, I have a rather large home. Certain things that, that I have, but I don't regret, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't do that right away, But no, I don't really,
I ain't get the purchase yet. Did y'all hear the purchase? I need to hear the purchase. What was it? I know you ain't get. Did you get a jewelry? What'd you get? You got something, a car or something. I'm talking about out your pocket, not a Rari that was given. Although that's fucking baller. I wish somebody gave me a Rari before. That's like a bar right there.
I think when I was dating my wife, and we rented a house out in Malibu. I think it was the summer of '97. And so I bought a Porsche convertible that we could, that we would have, and we, scoot around or whatever.
Oh, just so y'all was out in Malibu.
But I was just trying to impress her. I was trying to impress.
He's trying to stun you. You got the vert.
And so, but then I'm moving back to Detroit, where you don't really need a.
You don't need a Porsche.
That man can't get rid of it.
So I had to get rid of it. So I think that was maybe the first one where I was like, that wasn't.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
That wasn't the smartest
thing. That is
thing.
exactly what I'm looking for. Got at this point, she just the breeze. She ain't the wife yet. You trying to impress the breezy. When it got the vert, you know what I'm saying? Crib out in Malibu with the vert.
Even the Malibu,
the Malibu. Like, who lives in Malibu? You don't live in Malibu.
Yeah, that was a little much.
I'm not a crazy big Duke fan, but I was really enjoying and loving the moment of all y'all being together and being there for Coach K and seeing just the eras of all the Duke greats. How was that? Just feeling that and getting that type of energy and being all in the room and seeing everybody that you probably ain't seen in years, and something like this has never happened like that.
All of them together at one time.
Yeah, that was a dope moment.
It was. It was a magical moment, and I think the beauty of Coach K, I guess, or one of the things that's unusual was just the longevity of his career. And to be able to lead, to motivate, to inspire, to teach young men over multiple eras is different. We know just players today in the NBA are very different than our era. And so how do you connect with them? How do you how do you get through to them? How do you recruit them?
Yeah.
And so his ability to adapt and adjust over the years, whether you love him or hate him, you have to respect that he was able to do that. So to see all these people from different eras, from the early 80s up until, late teens or whatever, all coming back, it was a powerful moment. It was funny because afterwards I went and sat with my wife and I told her, I said, there's no way in hell we're going to win this game. And she said, what do you mean? I said, if I'm 18 years old and I just experienced all of that, it's going to be hard for me now to concentrate. Yeah. It's almost like the ring ceremony. When the team wins this opening night and they come out and lay an egg. Yeah. And give credit to Carolina, they played great, but it was too much. Yeah. But it was a great moment, and I'm glad he was able to kind of be celebrated on his way out.
That was a dope moment, and like I say, just seeing the eras and how long I've been watching Duke basketball, and just to see all the guys from JJ to the Boozers to everybody. That was just dope.
That's how I knew that the rivalry was real, though, when the only thing as a kid that I could draw the conclusion from, I'm taking it back to Sega Genesis, Coach K basketball. They did not have UNC on the game because it was UNC. Do you remember that? UNC was not on the game.
I don't remember.
The question is, did Coach K?
That's my point.
Did he do it, or did Carolina say they didn't want to be a part of it?
Listen, that was my part. But was the hate so heavy that somebody either didn't make it happen or they didn't want it to happen?
Hey, I used to say the love is so fake, but the hate is so real. It just you got to be a part of it to understand it. But there's a respect. Yeah. Because we need each other to be good for the rivalry to be good. But we don't want the other to be that good.
What do Coach K mean to you? I've the years and the friendships and the talks, and even after you left, overall, in his career, what do Coach K mean to you?
Yeah, just excellence, friendship, just a standard of, there's a reason why he's successful. And
outside of him being from Chicago.
That's right. No, and here's the thing. So the funny thing was, I can't imitate Coach, but we all would imitate him at times, but he always talked about how he was from Chicago and how he was tough. And he would be like, he's like, I got a bunch of suburban kids on my team, and like, you're not from, and so and then he talk about his, the guys he grew up with. Yeah. In Chicago, and he'd talk about how tough they were and different things he would do, and he's trying to motivate us or whatever. And then you meet the guys, and there's nothing tough about it. You're like, this is Mo? Like, Mo's the nicest guy in the world,
Mo you was talking about.
So, those were no, but here's the thing. I'll say this about Coach in Chicago. He coached, and look, I get the perception, I get Duke, and it can be people feel a certain way, it can be polarizing. But he coached like he was from the inner city of Chicago. Like there really was a toughness about him. Of course, he's polished, he looks the part, but like he's a fighter.
Oh, it show up every
No, he's a fighter.
Was it that last game when he didn't like what happened? He said, I ain't like that, but we ain't done.
No question. No question. And so, even and I used to kind of roll my eyes, and then I did it and was kind of brainwashed, but taking charges. The thing about that is you're sacrificing your body for the team. That's the tough thing to do. And so we'd have to take the charge drills. You had to take a charge. If you didn't take a charge, you didn't play. Ooh. And so, you know what I'm saying? And so I know when you play against a Duke guy, you're like, oh, there they go taking them charges again.
Same baddie. I hate his ass.
But that was ingrained in us, and the philosophy was just it was rooted in that's the ultimate sacrifice. Maybe a little bit of West Point weaved in there as well. You know what I'm saying? But that you had to have that to play for him. And here's the beautiful thing too. He wasn't, and he'll get mad at me for saying this, but he wasn't a great X and O guy. Mm-hmm. He didn't beat you with X's and O's. But he was great at getting you to believe and buy in and taking all these different personalities and coming together. And that's why I thought he was so great with the Olympic team, because he can connect. He
get your egos out of it.
Yeah, he can deal. He knows how to connect with everybody on a personal. He knew how to deal with me, and that dealing with me was different than someone else.
Yeah,
that's his genius. That's where he's so special. Excellent. We didn't run nothing. When I was at school, we didn't run any plays. We just played.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think I think as an example of excellence, but also as a leader, what leadership is. And leadership is connection. Leadership is honesty. Leadership is doing and saying the tough things that need to be, but all of that, he gave us the blueprint. And to me, all those qualities not only work in basketball, but they work in life. And so I'm appreciative of that.
Out of all the teammates you had over your NBA career, if you had to pick 4 other players to add on to your five, who would be them 4 other players?
And we making
so I'm on it.
Yeah,
I'm on the team. All right,
you gotta be 4 other players. All the teammates you can play in the NBA with, if you had to pick 4 of them to get you a 5 together to run it, who would be the 4?
Okay, T-Mac.
T-Mac.
Multiple. He's been in multiples.
I gotta put Joe Dumars. Joe could play, man. Joe could play. He was older when I played with him, but he could play.
You, T-Mac, Joe Du. You know you can go small. It's a new era.
I got Chris Paul and I got Steve Nash. He's point guard, so I got to figure out between those two. But I'll go with Steve. I didn't really play, so I'll go with Steve. So I got Steve, Joe, me, man. I need a big.
Amari Stoudemire?
Dwight Howard. Oh, Dwight or Amari?
Dwight. I forgot you had Dwight. Ooh.
Yeah,
so Steve Nash, Joe Dumars.
Okay, I'm taking Joe. I'm taking Joe off.
Okay.
Sorry, Joe. I'm gonna go Steve Nash, T-Mac, Amari,
Dwight.
And Dwight.
I'm
gonna go right there.
We're gonna do a bracket with people's 5
do that.
see, let the vote.
That's a crazy.
That's a tough
That's
5.
crazy.
With Dumars off the bench.
Yeah.
Steve, T-Mac, G. Ooh, and then Statty
Amari.
and Dwight.
Yeah, that's
I know the big ball, like the big,
That's tough
2 guys.
right
Like nowadays, you would go Amari, but you know what I'm saying? You couldn't have 2 bigs.
Yeah, nowadays.
Nah.
But with them, how they run, how Dwight and Amari run, you got to play with them.
That's gonna be.
I played with him after his knee, and he was still.
Nah, I played with him when he was. He ain't give a fuck. That's when listen. The league got lucky because he had to remember he had the eye stuff before the knee. That's what slowed him down when he was on his.
He was with me with the eye. I remember that.
But I know that he had 2. The eye and the knee thing Nike was about to have to give him a shoe. The league was about to be in his hand.
No question.
He was about to have the league in his hand.
Because after that year you guys had.
He was out of there.
He got hurt that next year.
That's what I'm telling you. That's when he was about to get the shoe and everything. That's when it slowed down. It had to. He still came back with a vengeance, but it stopped the whole ascent.
No. You're right. You're right about that.
You had a lot of dunk-ons. This ain't your part of the segment, but you had a lot of dunk-ons.
You used to catch them by.
No, he used to dunk by himself all the time. But you had a lot of dunk-ons. Which one is one of your favorite, one of your memorable moments that you always remember, or they always see you, send it to you on the gram or whatever? But which one of them dunk-ons that you remember the most?
Anytime you caught somebody, especially a big guy.
I know
Dikembe?
what you're gonna say. No.
Well, I mean, I always like to, and obviously we know Dikembe is going through some health right now, so our prayers are with him. But Dikembe was always fun, and he would always point the finger, and it was kind of a fun thing back and forth with him. But it was Alonzo, and there was a play. There was a play that I think really kind of resonated in Detroit. And it's interesting because Detroit's obviously blue collar, bad boys, and all of a sudden this privileged kid from Duke and all the perceptions that come with that comes to their city, and so it's probably a weird thing for them, for fans in Detroit at the time, to digest. But there was a play. I'm on defense. I'm guarding Hardaway, and I go under the screen, and Zoe's trying to roll. Back then, you could roll. And so somehow we get tangled up, and I guess he falls over me, and it looks like I body slammed him. And I body slammed him and threw him on the ground. I'm like, I get up, I'm like, oh shit. And I'm looking, and we're in front of the bench, and so I'm thinking, okay, these guys better come out here, we're in front of our own bench.
Yeah.
And he gets up, and the thing is, I know Zoe. I've known Zoe since high school. You know what I'm saying? We're from Virginia. So he didn't do anything, but it looked like I threw him down. It looked. And then the very next possession, we go down the other end, and I go against Marley, I go baseline, and Joe comes, and I dunk on him.
They hugged in it.
And
they hugged in the air.
So that sequence right there was a. And the funny thing was, my college roommate T. Lang, he's on the bench, so I'm looking at him after I dunk because I talk trash.
Yeah, that's your guy.
That's my guy, so I'm gonna talk trash to him. But that was probably the one. I mean, I had a few here and there, but that was the one that I think.
I know Zoe's still thinking about that.
No, here's the
nothing go.
Here's the thing. I had Zoe as one of my presenters at the Hall of Fame.
That's dope.
And part of it was what he went through with his injury, or his illness, and how he fought through that.
Yeah.
And when I was going through my stuff, looking for inspiration, he helped inspire me. So, but yeah, I mean that. Everyone's like, oh, man, Zoe must not like. Now, Zoe's my guy. I always like Zoe, but, when you compete, you compete.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Zoe, man. That's the big homie, man.
All right, that's a wrap, man. We was live on location with the legendary, the Duke legend, the NBA legend, Hall of Famer, NBA top 75, all of that. Live on location. G Hill, man. We appreciate you, big dog.
I appreciate y'all.